Westernspring Television. Ours it is.
Here are the top stories of the news. Supreme Court dismisses PDP suit challenging the alleged double nomination of Kashim Shettima. Police deploys personnel to protect the Aso Rock Eagle Square ahead of inauguration. On the foreign scene, Pakistan slaps travel ban on former Prime Minister Imran Khan amid standoff with military. Good afternoon and welcome to Spring News at 12 on Westernspring Television. My name is Okpayamuni. We begin with legal matters as the Supreme Court has dismissed a People's Democratic Party PDP suit challenging the alleged double nomination of Kashim Shettima. The Apex Court agrees with the lower court that the PDP lacks the local standard to institute the case. Justice Adamu Jauro, who read the judgment, added that the PDP acted as a meddlesome interloper and the busybody, as it is an internal affair of the APC. A sum of 2 million naira was awarded against the PDP, even as the suit was dismissed for lacking in merit. The justices further held that the attitude of the appellant PDP amounts to misleading the court, describing the move as sad. Away from legal matters, ahead of the May 29 inauguration of the President-elect Bola Tinubu, the police have deployed personnel to protect the presidential villa, provide security at and around the Eagle Square in Abuja, and man all Nigerian borders, seaports, and airports. Force Public Relations Officer Olumiwa Adejobi disclosed this in a statement yesterday, stating that operatives would equally be deployed to man the entry and exit points of the capital city and other critical government installations. Personnel for the inauguration were drawn from special forces, namely the Police Mobile Force, Counter-Terrorism Unit, Special Protection Unit, Anti-Bomb Squad, FIB Intelligence Response Team, and the Special Tactical Squad, among others. Also deployed by the police are helicopters and drones for area surveillance in Abuja and its environs, as well as water cannons and armored personnel carriers. In the meantime, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo yesterday took the Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima on a familiarization tour of his wing of a presidential villa in Abuja. Speaking to State House correspondents after the meeting, Mr. Shettima said it came on the instance of Professor Osinbajo to exchange ideas on how to move the nation forward. Mr. Shettima stated that he and the President-elect Bola Tinubu hope to hit the ground running from day one to ensure Nigerians feel the impact of their administration. Earlier, President-elect Bola Tinubu says he understands the magnitude of the task ahead as he prepares to take on the mantle of leadership. The former governor of Lagos State was declared winner of the February 25th presidential election after defeating Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and Peter Obi of the Labour Party. Senator Tinubu was conferred with the Grand Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic, GCFR, the highest national honor, while the Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima was bestowed with the Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger, GCON. Speaking after receiving the honor in Abuja, the President-elect told President Muhammadu Buhari to expect knocks on his door, whether he goes to Daura or Niger Republic. Senator Tinubu, who is expected to be sworn in as president on May 29th, said it will not disappoint President Buhari and Nigerians. As the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari winds down, there have been discussions around its performance in infrastructural development. In this report, Olayin Kali examines the development under the Buhari-led administration in terms of power, railway, and road. In Niger, the former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Kwankwaso, has advised the state governor-elect Umar Bago to hit the ground running immediately after his swearing in. Kwankwaso stated these are the inauguration lecture of the Niger State governor-elect, noting that he must hit the ground running for the socio-economic development of the state. He told the governor-elect to shun stealing and siphoning of public funds but should embark on empowering the people for good and genuine governance while investing heavily in education and security for the betterment of a state. Also, a former chairman of Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Atairu Jega, stated that good governance is supposed to be driven by selfless and visionary leaders to address the needs and aspirations of the populace. In his remarks, the Niger State government-elect pledged to surpass the expectations of the people by raising the bar in governance, assuring to operate an open-door policy for a renewed Niger State.
Want the kind of inputs the discussants here have made. We have taken notes, and by the grace of God, inshallah, we will surpass expectation. When people are saying to be like an aeroplane or to be like a concourse, I giggled, like I will be better or will be better than them. Inshallah.
Meanwhile, in Rivers State, Governor Nyesom Wike has dissolved a state executive council. Governor Wike announced the dissolution after a special executive meeting in the government house, Port Harcourt, yesterday evening. The governor praised the contribution of the cabinet members to the development of the state, noting that the achievement of his administration couldn't be achieved without their impact. Earlier, the commissioner took turns to eulogize the governor for his landmark achievements in the state.
As an elected public officer, you know you are tenured. Today, you are sworn in as governor, you are sworn in as president, you are sworn in as chairman of council, or as a member of the legislature. You know when the tenure will come to an end, so you must prepare. Yes, it's emotional because of the interactions you have had to sit with colleagues, and that opportunity may no longer be there. The way you joke amongst yourself may not longer be there. But one thing is important in life that everybody must go home with to say. There was a time I was called to support, to work for River State. At that time, what happened? What were our contributions? Everybody is saying today, we have done well, we have done well. No one person did well. Everybody did well. The governor alone cannot, on his own, be in charge of everywhere.
Moving on, the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board has commissioned a 1,000-seating capacity mega computer-based test center in Kaduna. The center is said to be the largest in West Africa, has 4 units each of 250 seaters, with the capacity to conduct the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination for 4,000 candidates per day, while inaugurating the 1.19 billion naira CBT Center along the Tafawa Balewa Way. Kaduna, the state governor, Malam Nasru El-Rufai, and the Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, hailed the JAMB Registrar, Professor Ishak Oloyede, for his prudent management of resources. According to them, the JAMBers has proven that Nigeria will progress if public institutions are manned by upright, honest, and dedicated public servants. Speaking while at the commissioning center, El-Rufai noted that his successor would continue to support the board to expand its facilities in the state. Elsewhere, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo is expected to lead a team of distinguished experts in observing the general election in Sierra Leone on June 24, the Commonwealth Group have said. According to a statement published on its website on Thursday, the Commonwealth Secretary-General Patricia Scotland confirmed that Professor Osinbajo had accepted a request to chair the Commonwealth Observer Group. The Secretary-General is said to have constituted the Observer Group upon invitation from the Electoral Commission for Sierra Leone. The Secretary-General expressed gratitude to Vice President for agreeing to undertake the task in deepening democracy across the Commonwealth despite his busy schedule. He disclosed that it will be joined by recognized dignitaries from various fields, including politicians, legal, media, gender, and election administration professionals from across the Commonwealth. You're watching Spring News at 12 on Westernspring Television. We'll be right back after this break.
Conference of 1884 defined the configuration of Africa, which hitherto existed as a continent of multiple kingdoms and empires under native rulers. The conference, otherwise referred to as Congo Conference, regulated European colonization and trade in Africa as initiated by German leader Otto von Bismarck. The Berlin Conference is often called the scramble for and partitioning of Africa, as each of the imperial powers carved separate portions of the continent for themselves without recourse to racial and cultural identities and differences. 137 years after the Berlin Conference was held, Africa remains a legitimized playground for European nations that sought to exploit its wealth and resources and manipulate its human capital to promote trades and investments of Western powers. Westernspring Television identifies Berlin Conference as a major event in history. War, also known as Ekiti-Parapo War, was waged among Yoruba main ethnic groups which emerged from the ruins of the falling Oyo Empire that were desperate to replace the awesome powers hitherto wielded by the Alaafin of Oyo. The Kiriji War is defined as a conflict of confederacy and unitary political system championed by Yorubas of different socio-economic and political interests. The Ibadan military aristocrats felt they deserved a dominant position for saving Yoruba land from being totally submerged by the Fulanis by their victory in Oshobo War of 1840 and Ijaye War of 1862. Kiriji War, that took its name from the booming motor sounds of European arms, festered for so long because the Industrial Revolution in Europe provoked high standards of slaves. The 16-year Civil War also caused the emergence of new powerful kingdoms like Ibadan and the rise of powerful personalities like Oluyole, Ogunmola, Komi, Latosha, Shodeke, Fabumi, and Ogedengbe. One of the fallouts of Kiriji War was the birth of creative political and leadership structure in Yoruba land that was a blend of federalism and autocratic monarchical system. Westernspring Television identifies Kiriji War as a watershed event.
Welcome back on Spring News at 12 on Westernspring Television. And now talking business, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has urged the incoming government of President-elect Bola Tinubu to take steps to increase the country's revenue base. The resident representative IMF Nigeria office, Ari Asen, gave the advice during a virtual forum on the Nigerian debt situation, recommending that the incoming government drastically reduce dependence on debt to fund expenditures. According to Mr. Asen, to resolve the debt issues of Nigeria, the incoming government needs to concentrate on revenue and expenditure. He said that the debt situation had deteriorated because the federal government was spending more than it was actually getting in revenues. While the House of Representatives yesterday grilled the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, over the alleged illegal sale of 48 million barrels of crude oil in China valued at over $2.4 billion. Mr. Malami, in company with the Solicitor General of the Federation, Beatrice Jediagba, appeared before an ad hoc committee. While the ministry made a written presentation to the committee, Mr. Malami restated his earlier position about the allegation and the probe. He asked the lawmakers to avail him of documents and facts at their disposal to assist him in aiding the investigation. It is the second time that the officials will be appearing since the probe began. The minister, when he first appeared before the committee on April 27, 2023, told the lawmakers that the allegation that 48 million barrels of crude oil valued at over $2.4 billion was illegally sold to China was false. Outside Nigeria, U.S. President Joe Biden and top congressional Republican Kevin McCarthy are closing in on a deal that will raise the government's $31.4 trillion debt ceiling for 2 years, while capping spending on most items. According to U.S. officials, the deal, which is not final, would increase funding for discretionary spending on military and veterans, while essentially holding non-defense discretionary spending at current year levels. The final deal would specify the total amount the government could spend on discretionary programs like housing and education. House Speaker McCarthy told reporters yesterday evening that the two sides have not reached a deal, noting that everyone knew it would not be easy, while President Biden said there is still disagreement over where the courts should fall, adding that he doesn't believe the whole burden should fall back to middle-class and working-class Americans.
The American people deserve to know there will be no default. And it's time for Congress to act now.
Let me tell the American public, I am not going to give up. We're not going to default. We're going to solve this problem. I will stay with it until we can get it done. But let's be honest about this. We have to spend less than we spent last year. It is not my fault that the Democrats cannot give up on their spending.
On the foreign scene, Pakistan's government has restricted former Prime Minister Imran Khan, his wife, and hundreds of political aides from traveling abroad amid a standoff with the country's powerful military. The Federal Investigation Agency, FIA, responsible for immigration and border control, put Mr. Khan's name on a no-fly list. At least 2 officials confirmed to DPA News Agency this morning. According to RO officials, Mr. Khan's wife, Bushra Bibi, and more than 500 leaders and members of his Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party were also added to the list. However, Mr. Khan this morning thanked the government for putting him on the no-fly list. It disclosed that he doesn't have any plans to travel abroad because he neither has any properties or businesses abroad, nor a bank account outside the country. He tweeted in an apparent dig at politicians belonging to Pakistan's ruling alliance who allegedly owns homes abroad. In the Middle East, Iran and Belgium have agreed to free individuals detained in each other's countries in a deal facilitated by Oman. In a statement this morning, the Omani Foreign Ministry said the people were transported from Tehran and Brussels to Muscat in preparation for their return to their respective countries. The ministry did not identify the prisoners being swapped. However, Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo said in a statement that aid worker Olivia van der Kastle had been freed. Iranian state media repeated Oman's announcement without offering further details. Iran has been wanting Belgium to return a diplomat convicted of planning a bombing in France. To the Russia-Ukraine war, United States highest-ranking military official had said Russia will not achieve a military victory in Ukraine and Kiev's forces are unlikely to push back all Russian troops from their territory anytime soon. General Mark Milley, chairman of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff, told journalists after a virtual meeting of countries in the Ukraine Defense Contact Group, noting that the war militarily was not going to be won by Russia. He said it means fighting was going to continue and it was going to be bloody as well as hard, and at some point both sides will either negotiate a settlement or to come to a military conclusion. Commenting on the F-16 fighters, General Milley cautioned that they were not going to be the magic weapon. Milley's assessment adds to a number of forecasts that the war in Ukraine appears set to drag on, with neither side positioned to win a clear-cut victory and no negotiations currently taking place.
There are no magic weapons. An F-16 is not, neither is anything else. And if you look at F-16s, 10 F-16s $1 billion. You add the sustainment cost, another $1 billion. So you're talking about $2 billion for 10 aircraft. The Russians have 1,000. Fourth and fifth generation fighters. So if you're going to contest Russia in the air, you're going to need a substantial amount of fourth and fifth generation fighters. So if you look at the cost curve and do the analysis, the smartest thing to have done is exactly what we did do, which is provide a significant amount of integrated air defense to cover the battle space and deny the Russians the airspace.
Elsewhere in Europe, French riot police had bagged several hundred climate activists from the venue where all major Total Energies is due to hold its annual shareholders meeting later today. Scuffles between police and protesters broke out briefly several hours before the meeting, where investors are expected to vote on green resolutions urging accelerate fossil fuel courts. The science is clear, but Total is ignoring it, read a banner held up by demonstrators, including Greenpeace activists. Climate activists are intensifying demands on oil companies for tougher emission coating targets, with protesters trying to storm the stage of Shell's shareholder meeting earlier this week and also disrupting BP's AGM last month. Investors are set to vote on a green resolution urging accelerated courts under the French oil major's greenhouse gas emission reduction program, a resolution the board opposes. In South America, Peru's anti-narcotics police have seized 127 pounds of cocaine headed for Belgium in packages bearing Nazi symbols and imprinted with the name of Germany's wartime leader, Hitler. According to pictures, videos released by Peruvian Police Anti-Drug Directorate yesterday, the drugs were hidden in 50 packages the size of bricks, each one bearing a Nazi swastika with the word Hitler written in high relief on the compacted white powder. The drugs were found in a Liberian flagged boat in the small northern port town of Paita, close to the border with Ecuador. The ship had come from Guayaquil, the Ecuadorian port city, known as a major jumping-off point for South American drugs heading to the United States and Europe. Police did not say if anyone was arrested. And now talking sport, Manchester United sealed qualification for next season's Champions League with a 4-1 thrashing of beleaguered Chelsea yesterday. Casemiro, Anthony Martial, Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford were on target as the Red Devils moved up to third in the Premier League. A miserable night summed up Chelsea's season despite spending over £500 million in the transfer market as they slumped to an 8th defeat in 10 games since Frank Lampard returned as interim manager. By contrast, confirmation of a top 4 finish rounds off a successful first season in charge for Erik ten Hag, after also ending United's 6-year profit drought by winning the League Cup in February.
Good base to be in the top 4, but we want to compete for the title, but it has to be realistic, and you can first say when you have your squad in the end of the transfer window and also in the winter transfer window what you can do. The squad is there, then you can make a statement about if it's realistic or not. And now we are far away, so we have a lot of work to do. We make progress with this team and this squad, but we need better players.
The group is training and it's really together and it's pushing each other and those things, then good things come. And you as the individual improve within that. And at the moment that momentum is not there. It's clear. So it doesn't matter. When I get asked, why did you play back 5? That gets analysed. You go, well, play back 4 and people have to defend with responsibility individually much more. That's modern football. You can see some shortcomings. So this is not a tactical thing, and it's not been a tactical thing since I've been here. It's been more about assessing where the group are. Can you help individuals within it?
Before we end the news, is a recap of our top stories. The Supreme Court has dismissed the PDP suit challenging the alleged double nomination of Kassim Shettima. Ahead of the May 29 inauguration of President-elect Bola Tinubu, police have deployed personnel to protect the presidential villa, provide security at and around the Eagle Square in Abuja. On the foreign scene, Pakistan's government has restricted former Prime Minister Imran Khan, his wife, and hundreds of political aides from traveling abroad amid a standoff with the country's powerful military. You can follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Westernspring Television. You can also watch us live on our YouTube channel at Westernspring Television. That ends Spring News at 12. I am Okpayamuni. Thanks for watching.